Okay, I didn't mark all of my slides real well, but we'll see how it goes. All right, so I actually did a fair amount of analyzing before I even brought up the chart to start trading this morning, mostly because I had made the video from yesterday and just was kind of already looking at it. So I jumped into my first trade. I could see that it was near a bottom of this zigzag pattern and was heading up. And I originally thought it was probably going to get up to this point right here. I am kind of seeing a loss of momentum right through here, but it is uptrending, and so I thought, well, I think this is a good place to be. It's trading with the trend, and I'm not asking a whole lot. So, all right. Then I went back out and grabbed all of the screenshots very quickly while I was in this trade to kind of back up what I was thinking. So 4-hour chart, you can see it's heading up. It's actually just below the MACD, so we are gaining momentum, and we have some headspace to clear here. If we have an upward movement, we can see that we're at the bottom of this channel, and if you just drew an average line through all of these candles, it would definitely be uptrending and gaining momentum. So I think it's probably going to be heading up here soon a great deal. Probably even going to reach 7,000 within the next week or so. All right, 1-hour chart, and you can see my trade is still just kind of sitting at 0 here. It's not really going anywhere. All right, the 1-hour chart here, the momentum is starting to get a little bit depleted. We can start to see it starting to turn and drop a little bit. But there's definitely still some reason to think it's going to head up. It is kind of sitting at a support level right through here with the SMA, so that is a little bit concerning. All right, 30-minute chart here. A little bit of a dip right through there, which is where I bought it, because you can see I'm actually in a profitable position right here. And have not adjusted the volume area from yesterday. It's still from 2 days ago, so that's not accurate. But you can see the MACD is starting to tip over and starting to lose momentum there. All right, when you get to the 15-minute, I went ahead and adjusted the limit order because I thought it was going to get up to that point, which was a pretty decent sized trade. And you can see it bouncing, finding support at this SMA here is what I'm seeing. So I think it's going to get up to that point. I like where my stop is. I like where my limit is. I think this is a good setup. And the MACD is high, but it's turning up. And the RSI is maintaining a level here, even though the price action is going up. So at least it's not losing a great deal of momentum. We did have a great big drop right through here, but I think that just allowed for us to get into a good place. Okay, it's heading up still, and this is the 5-minute, and now here's the 1-minute chart. All right, so I'm expecting pretty big things. When you get to the 1-minute chart, you can see that's where I moved that limit order based off of the 15-minute chart, and I'm not sure about that, but we'll see. If it breaks through all of these resistance levels here, these SMAs, then I think we're in good shape. Still below the MACD, but it's kind of heading up, possibly losing a little bit of momentum. Right, broke through the resistance level, and I raised up my stop to lock in a little bit of profit here, about $100 in profit, and it dropped down, and I got out. All right, so I was looking back on it, and it actually did get up to that point that I thought it was going to get up to. So I thought, man, should I have held on? Was that a trade that I should have held on to? So I went back and kind of looked at the stop, and if I had put the stop at break even, I would have gotten the whole thing. So yeah, I think it would have been a safe trade to just, instead of locking in the $100 profit that I did, just leave it at break even. So that would have been a decent thing to do. Anyway, I didn't, looking back on it, it's like, yeah, I was playing it cautious, so at least I made something and didn't lose anything. But sometimes if you're really certain of a trade, and I was pretty certain of this trade, you can put a little bit more risk on the table, and maybe I should have. I mean, like, break even is not exactly any risk either, so that would have been a fine thing to do. All right, so if I think it's going to get up to that point, now all of a sudden I don't know what it's doing anymore. I'm going to watch it. So I kind of go back out and check my higher time frames, and I think it's going to be dropping down, and I'd like to get into a long. This is like a setup for the ideal trade right here, and I think it's going to drop down to this point. So I'm sitting here and waiting, and I finally decided, you know what, I think a short actually is not a bad way to go. I think I could grab this movement and get into a short here. It just really looks like a good setup for a short. I don't know how far it will go, so I'm not expecting a whole lot, but even $200 in a trade, I could easily see it getting to that point, and that is a good trade. So I got into a short here and watched it drop. I'm really watching my stop. I'm keeping that pretty tight, and on the 1 minute chart here, it's just above the SMA. That's where I placed it. SMA, or the MACD on the 1 minute chart here, looks really good for a drop. On the 5 minute chart, it really looks good for a drop. So I'm pretty hopeful here. Okay, it's dropping down some more. I actually lowered my limit order down to here. I can see there's a bunch of area right there and a little bit of area right here that looks like a consolidation area, and it's just below the SMA. So I think that it probably will even get down to that point. But since that's a fairly decent sized trade, not a huge trade, but it's a pretty good sized one, I lowered my stop to break even and got stopped out. So this may have still, I still haven't changed my mind about where it's going, but I didn't get it on that one. So I tried it again. I got in another short. This is actually placed, but it hasn't executed yet. It's actually below where I wanted to be. Okay, and then it went up, and I think I canceled that order. I was just going to wait a little bit longer because I was worried that it was going to bounce off of this point, and it's very uptrending, really, the last few hours. So worried that it's going to get up, even to this point again before it drops. So I'm just getting out here. Didn't place that last trade. And I decided to try to do a long instead because it looked like it was bouncing. This is the 5 minute chart, so there's a fair amount of movement right through here, and this is a good trade again, a good size trade. Again, I'm not expecting it to get all the way up to the peak, just to this area right through here, which is pretty conservative, and that's a good sized stop for a loss right there too. So I'm in a long and raised up to lock in no more than $50 loss, and then it headed up. And so I actually lowered my expectations just a little bit more even, you can see. And this is going to be, let's see, that would be 100, 200, 150, 175-ish sort of trade. So that's a good size trade with only a $50 loss possible. And the MACD looks really, really good, like it's going to head up further. But it hesitated at that point, and I was worried that it wasn't going to break through that. And I don't know if you saw that on the last screen. I was starting to notice a loss of momentum on the RSI on the higher time frames. I think it was the 15-minute chart, but it might have been the 5. So I'm beginning to kind of shift gears a little bit and thinking, yeah, it's uptrending, but I am seeing evidence for it wanting to drop. So I'm not going to put any risk on the table, break even right here. If I get this, great. If I don't, that's not a huge big deal. And it did end up going up, so I tried to gain a little bit of profit by raising up that stop. And it actually, I lowered my limit as well when it really hesitated at that point. So I was being really conservative here because it's really, really slow. It's 9:16, so I've got like 15 minutes left before the opening bell. I'm just going to try for just getting 100. I'm not even going to try for the more dollar amount that I was originally after, and I believe that took. I got out there, so I'm gaining a little bit of momentum. I've done pretty decently on my last few trades, so I'm out there. All right, and got into a short here as it was starting to drop, and my stop is up here. So that would be, again, $150 loss if it hit my stop. And I'm seeing that it's going to be dropping now. 1 minute chart. And this is, I think, where it's going to get to. So the limit order is placed down here. And we have a nice big red candle. Okay, went out to the 5 minute just to double check myself, and it is kind of sitting at a support level. So the the SMAs right through here are forming a death cross, so I do think it's going to be dropping. And it's possible it could get all the way down to this point here. Who knows? That's a long ways down there. I think the bottom of these candles right through here is a better spot to hope for. So, and I can kind of see if you drew a band right through this area right here, that's kind of a consolidation area, and I'm at the top part of it. So that's what I'm looking at. All right, I think it's going to drop, hanging on. I'm in a profitable position right now, and I got out a little bit sooner because it started to go up. So I gained another, I think, $120 or something. So a good trade, small trade. I didn't ride it all the way down. I'm being very, very conservative, which has really actually played out for me better than any other strategy I've ever tried. I've heard advice to just, set a trade and just let it ride. But I haven't really followed that advice. I set a trade in the best possible place that I think I can get it. And then if I see any kind of hesitation at a, decent profit of $100 or something, I will get out. And that's actually played out pretty well for me. So I think I'm going to continue to do that. All right, waiting for another opportunity, and I still think it's going to be dropping. So I got into a short. Unfortunately, I got into a short, well, not unfortunately, let's see. I got in here, and it did go up just a little bit. So it's not the best place to get into a short. I could have maybe gotten in a little bit higher. But anyway, my stop is up there at a pretty tight spot, and I still think it's going to drop, and it did. It started to drop, and just to be on the safe side again, I lowered my stop to break even. Okay? And then I got stopped out. So I didn't lose anything again on that one. So didn't make anything, but I didn't lose anything. Have I changed my mind about where it's going? No. And there it goes. It went right down to where I thought it was going to go. So again, I played it conservatively, missed out on the bigger movement, but I didn't lose anything either. So I guess that's a win. All right. It bounced up, and then I was watching it like a hawk. I still think we're going to be dropping some more. So I got into another short here, and the MACD does not look good here. So there must have been some other reasons that I thought it was going to drop some more. I think one of them is that it made a lower low here. I think that's one big reason. The other reason, I'm pretty sure, and I'm going to probably go out and check that, but I think I was seeing on the longer time frames, the 30, the 15, and the 5, that there was a lot more movement yet to be had in the downward direction. Yep, here we are, 15-minute chart. You can see the MACD is starting to turn and really start losing momentum. And you can see that on the RSI as well. This peak here is a divergence from this one because the price action is higher than that. And so we are definitely losing momentum. And it's also raised up here to the resistance level. Now this is one trade that I made here. As you can see, I'm already in a $250 loss position. This is a trade that I would consider not a very good trade. I took a huge risk on this. And I placed my stop where it needed to be up here, but that means that's like a $500 loss. I really shouldn't have done that, but I was certain that it was going to be dropping. That's why I did that. So I should have just waited to get into another position. Anyway, I didn't, and I'm out on the 15 and 5-minute time frames to try to help me keep my head on straight here. And I'm definitely seeing that it's going to be dropping. Oh, the opening bell has come and gone now. By the way, it's 2 minutes after that. All right, so it's moving pretty fast. Another reason I put it up there is because I really don't want to get stopped out, and I really thought it probably could get up to that point, and it did, and then it started to fall again, and now I'm in a profitable position. So I won out on that one. I would say I was a little more lucky than smart on that position. But anyway, okay, so I think it's going to drop going to get down to this point, and it started to hesitate, and I took all the risk off the table, and again was hoping for just a small trade. So I'm going to get out. I'm going to get stopped out here at about $100 profit, maybe even 75. So I did, I think. Yes, I did. And then it went up to this point and then dropped right back down again. And now we can see the next candle is already a red one. So I think it's going to drop some more. Got into a short. Have a better stop position here. That's still a pretty good sized loss right there, but it's not horrible. That's almost $200 loss. So within the reason, I still think it's going to drop. Pretty likely it's going to drop. And as it drops, I raise my expectations up here, or lower my expectations, and also put my stop at break even again. So got stopped out. So actually didn't make anything on that one. So on this drop right through here, I've only made $100 so far. Just being very conservative. All right, waiting for another drop position, and this time I got in at the top of these little candles right through here. I got into a short. Again, have about, let's see, $150, $175 loss possible right through here, and I think it's going to drop. And I went out to the 15-minute chart to figure out where to put this limit order, and you can see consolidation area right through here. I put my order right at the top of it, which also happens to line up with the SMA. That's how I decide where that's going to go. That's where I think it's going to peter out. All right, which is a huge trade for me. My stop is up there, right above the SMAs there. All right, we can kind of see possible leg up right through here. I'm actually in a profitable position here because I got into a decent place, but I'm a little bit worried about it. And then it dropped, and I got out at about a $300 profit. And I got out there because if I go back to this, you can see this alert line right through here, and that alert was set at the I don't remember why exactly I set it there, but anyway, I set it there, and that's where it went to. And I thought, oh my word, $300 profit. I need to just get out. So I raised up the limit to that point and just got out. So I was really happy with that trade. Again, I didn't let it ride all the way down to where I had originally said. And, I think I did really well. So then I realized, oh my word, I've made now more than I ever have on this eval as of now. So I am in a good place. I'm trying to make around $150, $200 a day. If I can continue that average, then I'll be fine. I can make my eval my goal in the amount of time that I have left. So I was wondering if I should stop. Went out and grabbed the screenshots on the longer time frame, and this is sitting at support, and this went down to support. Now it's bouncing up. I just I really do need to stop. And I went and calculated how much I had made for the day, and holy cow, I made $703 for the day. So yeah, I'm gonna stop. I'm in good shape. And I also calculated if I even make 140 for the next 6 days that I have this eval live, I'll be good. So 140 a day is not that much. I can easily do that as long as I watch my bottom line and don't have any more big loss days. So there's my eval so far. I'm pretty happy with that. These are a little bit volatile, more than I'd like. I like these days here. They're a little smaller dollar amounts, and I'd like to maintain that more than these big guys. But I think I can do that. And honestly, looking back at yesterday, I don't think it was because of an emotional problem that I was having that I lost that money. I honestly think it was because the market was that volatile, and I was trading properly. I just kept getting stopped out, and it wasn't emotional trades that I was making. I wasn't trying to make up for it. So, yeah, I lost a fair amount there, but I also watched my bottom line, and I didn't lose all of the dollar amount that I had made the day before. So I think I did all right, even though I lost a fair amount there. All right, thanks for joining me.